Okay guys, so we're going still on our journey to the Stave Church of Burgund, and our next stop for today is the Vang Stone. This is an incredibly beautiful stone. It is actually made in 1000 AD, and unlike the old one, this one is written in Younger Futhark. So this is a variation of the Runic language after 700 AD. So some of the runes were simplified by that time, and so the writings on this one are in Younger Futhark. Now the stone itself is quite, the inscription on the stone is quite simple. It just says, Goose sons raised the stone in memory of Gunnar, their nephew. So this is definitely a burial stone that some family members raised for their loved one. Let me show you this. This is fantastic.
So against this interesting backdrop of fjords, mountains, and ancient cemeteries stands the Vang Rock. It's very interesting. It is, as you can see, in a beautiful condition. You can see the carvings almost as if they were done yesterday. On the very top right there, we can see a lion, which is a very prominent piece in this style of art. The stone itself is almost 2 meters high, and as you go down, you can see this beautiful designs of intertwined flowers, making all sorts of ornaments. Let's see if I can get close here and show you the carvings up close. Wow, look at that. This is almost 1,000 years old. And what a privilege it is to see these intricate designs in such a beautiful condition. Wow.
And what is interesting is that the runes themselves are actually not integrated into the paintings, but are on the side of the stone. So check this out.
So here's the inscription itself. It is written in Younger Futhark, which is a Viking language that lasted from 8th to 12th century AD. And what is written here is, the Goose's sons raised this stone in memory of Gunnar, their nephew. Wow, look at that.
So it might be that their brother has passed away, maybe died in the battle, because let's remember, this stone still dates to the Viking Age. Viking Age ended in the 11th century, so this is right in the end, last century of Viking Age, where this would have been erected. And so they have now placed the stone in memory of their brother's son, who also has seemed to passed away probably at the early age, who knows due to what, maybe war or sickness or other conditions. But it is here reminding us of this young man that passed away and his relatives, and it is just a beautiful example of Norwegian ancient history dating from 1,000 years ago. Another very interesting fact about this stone is it is one of the best examples of Ringerike style of art. Ringerike style is one of the few styles that Vikings had for ornamenting. The motifs of that style are lions, birds, bend-shaped animals, and spirals. And so you can see this kind of artwork in many other artifacts from that era. But when it comes to stones, this is one of the best examples of this art. So not only are you looking at history, but you're also looking at art, a beautiful example of Vikings era artwork. Another interesting fact about this style of artwork is all the motifs that you see were introduced to this region with the arrival of Christianity. So what you're looking at is that point where Norsemen went from being pagan to being Christian. So it is that transformative period that you get to witness by looking at something like this. And you can sort of imagine what kind of mental and spiritual transformation people were having when they were crafting this, how this tied in with the old beliefs and the new beliefs and how they came to understand them. So that's really neat. I highly suggest you stop by here. You will not regret this. And this is just about 20 minutes from the first stone that we saw, Vang Stone. And so if you're going from Oslo to Bergen, this is en route. This is just off the highway. Behind me is the main highway. And also it's a beautiful spot just to stop and maybe get a selfie, because the backdrop is fantastic. What you can see in the back there is, you know, mountains, and you can't see it from here, but there's actually also a fjord running all around here. So it's really nice. And another thing I just wanted to show you here, it is also placed right by this beautiful church, and you can very classical Norwegian church style building. And of course there's a cemetery. Some of the graves, as we can see, go 100 years back too. So this is a very spiritually important place, a place where people come to pay their respect, to remember their relatives, not just from now and a few hundred years ago, but also their ancestors from 1,000 years ago. It's a beautiful place, so stop by. The church itself is Vang Kirke. So as you can see, it is rather simplistic on the outside, but that is typical of many of Norway's churches, and it's just such a peaceful place. You know, it's hard to describe in words, but you know, as you walk here, you can see a cemetery leading up to the church. So you can almost imagine people coming here for services, and each time they come, you know, they would first pass by the stone that is located just right there, and then walk by here, remembering their relatives, and then walk into the church and have the service there. And then, you know, if you after the service, you know, want to reflect on things, or maybe just, you know, maybe you're feeling down because you had a relative buried here and brought some sad memories of them passing away, you know, you can take a short stroll here. Let's see, it just says Jord Outfall. The cemetery keeps on going, but look at the backdrop here. A valley with a fjord. It really feels peaceful. Now, before this church was in place, there was actually a ancient stave church in its place, but that got moved in the middle of 19th century. It is now situated in Germany. But, you know, this would be where the old one stood, and now this new kirk stands here, and so it's very symbolical of continuation of generations, and you know, some things never change. And really important to remember is that usually the churches were built on places where worship was already happening. So even though this is a new church and the Stave Church is not longer here, there's highly probability that this was a place where back in the day pagan Norwegians at the time would have had perhaps their temple, their pagan temple. It happens all the time. So it is not a stretch to suggest that perhaps something was here, not just 1,000 years ago, but maybe 2,000 years ago, where people would come and worship their gods right here on the shores of this fjord. So so just when you come here, it all ties together, and it really is fascinating to see. So I hope you can make a stop here. It's right on the highway, so take a few minutes and enjoy this beautiful piece of history.